Hey, Daniel, thanks for coming on the show today.
Hey, I appreciate it.
Yeah, you bet. We've been talking so much recently, and I know that you've had a lot of new stuff going on, coming on with ATC
Yeah,
Energy, and it's been exciting to watch.
yeah, it's been busy. We doing some good things out there. Came on about a month ago, and business is growing fast. So
It seems like it, and that's exciting to me because with the network that we have on LinkedIn, with the oil field, with different
mhm.
organizations, it's amazing to me how quickly things can come to life and come together.
No, absolutely. I mean, it's LinkedIn has been huge for us, right? And kind of my whole business development upbringing is it's been amazing just seeing the kind of the network and connections that we've been able to make throughout the industry.
Yeah, I agree. And I think a lot of it, the way it's evolved in like our social culture out here, everybody wants to be more efficient.
Yeah.
And so we've had to learn the platform
Hmm.
and really create the types of conversations we're having now. And you can make it your own. And I mean, that's what I've loved about it with my show. And I mean, just as much as you want to put yourself out there, you can make those good connections. It's up to you.
No, absolutely. I mean, it's things like the podcast and the veteran outreach programs and everything else that's going on. It's turning into a more evolved social media platform, right? So it's not just business ads that are out there now. Now it's showing what your employees are doing and giving people kind of the insight on what your company is actually doing throughout its venture. So
And do you think that that is setting companies apart?
I do. I do. Absolutely. Yeah, if you're not on LinkedIn, you're struggling. I mean,
Yeah, and it's such an efficient way to get in the loop, to know what's going
yep.
on, to see what business is happening. Because, I mean, we're not as boom and bust as we have been in the past, but I mean, there's still a lot of highs and lows, and you don't always know what's going on in the industry. So it's a great way to really plug in and be more informed
Hmm.
and also more accessible.
No, it is. Absolutely. I mean, I get tagged and stuff all the time, right? This company's doing this company's doing that. And it's being able to just keep yourself aware of what's going on around you and capitalizing on it.
Absolutely, and I think that it's a very useful marketing tool.
It is.
It's a great way to build relationships and get to know people.
Yeah.
And I've met so many great people off
Hmm.
the platform. I think it's exciting. I love the direction that we've gone in with it,
Yep.
and everybody is. It seems like overall we're on board with wanting it to be a positive, healthy, prosperous
Hmm.
way to conduct business, to help each other, to help organizations,
Yep.
and just be a part of a really great community.
Yeah, I mean the Permian grows stronger every day, right? And if you're not networking with other companies, you're going to get left behind. So it's a matter of just reaching out. It's a matter of watching what other people are doing and accepting those connections and realizing that businesses can align together in order to accomplish better services.
Absolutely. Well, this industry, it's always been dog eat dog. And
Hmm.
I mean, there's a lot of competition, but a lot of it's friendly competition. I mean, one, like, people work with different companies, like you have
Yeah.
relationships established or different regions that you cover that would be
Hmm.
a little bit more efficient than others. And so when similar contractors work together or work in harmony, I mean, that takes out a lot of that cutthroat behavior, but also aligning with businesses that are doing the same type of work you are, that's
Hmm.
adjacent to your types of projects. So then you can really be a powerhouse of having those connections and knowing who you can lean on, who you can call. And what I've loved even more about that is the friendships that have been made.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. I mean, you tagged me on a post last week, right, about vac trucks, and it was one of those that we couldn't touch it. I mean, it was way out in Orla. It didn't make sense to send trucks from all the way over where we were at. So, reached out to somebody, they made the connection, and was able to get it set up. So
So I mean,
it's
it
good.
worked
Yeah,
out.
everybody networks together.
I love that. And for me, like, one thing I've always liked about LinkedIn, and before I did my podcast, when I was really just figuring it out, I knew that I wanted to be involved
Hmm.
in more of that because I can see where people can get connected. But if you miss that post or you don't have these other relationships established, then it gets lost. It
It
just goes
does.
through the feed. But we made that connection together. Of course, I thought of you guys,
Yep.
and I'm going to tag you if I see anything about back trucks or, I mean, the all the different services that you offer. I'm going to think of you first.
I appreciate it.
And then and then you take it from there. If it's something that you guys can do, or I mean, if you've got somebody that, like you said, is closer, because the Permian is vast, and I mean, we cover some miles out here, regardless of how efficient we are. I mean, it's just I mean, what we have going on out here. It's the distance is. I mean, we go to great distances out here to do
Yeah, I
good
mean, we
work.
operate all the way out to east New Mexico, Hobbs, Carlsbad, kind of stay in the Permian area, but we're continuously growing. Other companies that are already established out in that area, we can work together. They get jobs on this side and they call us. We get jobs on that side and we call them.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, that's
Absolutely.
awesome. Well, in the evolution of your oil and gas career, you seem like you're really coming into it's a position that's so great for you.
Yeah.
It's right for you. It's a great company. It's a great fit. But would you say that it's taken a little while to find your place in the oil field or what you've evolved to now?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, I was 12 years in the Army, right? I was straight ground pounding every day. And going from that to where I am now it's definitely been a journey. I started off operations, working with high crush, doing frac sand, when I came out here to Midland, and never thought in a day I'd be in business development, and while I may not be the best speaker at times, I've learned how to network. I've learned how to communicate with people, and I've actually taking my operations experience and being able to translate that goes a lot further than just being the sales guy, So I feel like I kind of resonate with people when we have those conversations, and it's put me where I am today. So.
Absolutely. And so the relationships that you've built in the oil field, is it similar camaraderie to when you were in the Army?
It is, absolutely. Yeah, I mean, I stay still, active within the veteran community out here. You got Permian Warrior Partnership, Project 214, organizations like these that make it easier, right? But yes, the camaraderie, I'll get phone calls from other business owners needing help. I'll call them needing help on my end. The Permian's one of those few areas that it seems like everybody kind of works together, right? And yeah, it's cutthroat, but once you build those connections, it's unstoppable.
You can really rise above a lot of that.
Oh, yeah.
Because I mean, I've certainly, and I know a lot of us we have our oil field stories of how we got here, what we went through to get to where we are now, working for a lot of the wrong people and having the wrong relationships to the point where you think that's all there is.
Yep.
But then when you find your people and you find your network, all of that falls away like it never existed. And some of it's already gone because, I mean, there's companies that'll come up out here and they'll be gone just as fast. So I think that when you come to the oil field, and it's getting a lot more, I would say, structured and easier to navigate. I mean, especially with a platform like LinkedIn, you can learn a lot. You can learn a lot by being in the organizations, and depending on your background, like you said, with being in the veteran community, you're really getting deeper into that camaraderie because you're all experiencing similar lifestyle changes. So those adjustments that you make to go from being in the military to transitioning into a civilian life.
Yep.
But the oil field is, I mean, very much out here, it's something that you have to learn how to navigate. You have to learn who you are and what's going on and who to work for and who to stay away from. And it's taxing. It can be very taxing. And I can only imagine after you've served in the military for 12 years and then you come out here and you get involved with the wrong people or you find the right positions at the wrong companies. And it just seems like it's almost a fit. And then you find your place and then suddenly you're thriving.
Yeah, no, I mean, that's definitely true. We had a coffee last week with Permian Warrior Partnership, and there were 3 veterans in there that were looking for work, kind of in that same position where they had been there for years. It didn't work out, whether it was a layoff or, that company just wasn't the right fit. And the community here, especially the veteran community, has been a huge impact on that. I literally watched 8 to 10 veterans handing out business cards saying, call me tomorrow. Let's talk about getting you lined up, And it was the same thing. I went through a transition myself recently with coming on with ATC. Between LinkedIn and the veteran community, that's how I found my place, and best decision I could have made.
And I could see that. I could see how that all came together, and especially for me, like I've been on LinkedIn for 2 years. The first year, a lot of it was just figuring it out, and I think even at the time, the platform wasn't as evolved as it is today. It evolves every day. It's kind of like the Permian. It just gets stronger. The stronger we get our alliances, and you know who you can count on, the more powerful that impact is. And then other people are wanting to have those same experiences, and so we're pulling each other up on higher levels.
Yep. No, absolutely. I mean, I get contacts all the time, right? And it may be somebody that's coming up in the industry, not knowing how to break out, right? Trying to figure out, okay, how did this guy who had zero oil field experience in, 6 years go to where he is now, right? And just being able to open up and communicate with these guys, right, and give that knowledge as to how I did things and what works and what doesn't, it's nice to be able to, help somebody out.
It really is. I feel very similar because I wasted a lot of time. I spun my wheels with people doing things. And I mean, because there's opportunities out here that I can look back when in the beginning I would have never known they were here.
Yeah.
I would have never known it was possible. And the way that I think that the culture of the West Texas oil field has evolved, especially post-COVID, we have grown stronger together. And I think that we were able to be sustainable. A lot of people didn't skip a beat. A lot of us went through layoffs, job transitions, life changed. But now it's something that we have utilized in saying we can connect so quickly, so powerfully, and share in the same message and in the same narrative that this is what's really going on in the oil field. Yes, we're not there yet. We've all experienced negative things about working out here, but there are so many good people here, so many good companies and organizations wanting to do things right.
Yep.
And for us to come together like that in a unified front and be so solid at the core, like you can't break that. That's something that is we've built that, and a lot of it is through the grit and the grace of all these different transitions.
Yeah, I mean, it's staying in contact, right? Like you mentioned with COVID, how many jobs went hybrid? How many jobs went remote, right? And everybody being able to connect during that time made us stronger now, right? We may not all go out every single day like we used to. A lot of people cut back on, the dinner party and everything else. But at the same time, we've built stronger foundations around actual solid communication throughout the Permian. I mean, it's, look at the trade shows, right? They're growing larger now than they ever have, right? And it's because of that time period we had with COVID where social media became the major outreach. You couldn't walk into an office and go talk to somebody. So now we're sitting here years down the road, and it's still one of the most viable ways of getting in front of a customer, and yeah, I mean, it's amazing to see. It's changed in the last couple of years.
And it's like, I mean, things are evolving every day, and like I'm excited about the Shell Energy Conference coming up in June. I mean, I think it's going to be a great year.
Yep.
Everybody is wanting to be out more. Like we communicate online. You build your brand, you build your name, you get to know people. But then when you have an opportunity like that to go and really put yourself out there and be present, that I think it makes an even bigger impact, and it's an even stronger representation for you and your company and the services you provide, that you want to be there.
Yeah.
As with the Shale Conference, it's bringing together the best. You want to put yourself out there. You want to bring your swag. You want to talk about what it is you have to offer, whether it's a product or a service or just introducing yourself to the industry, because there's always new technology coming out.
Yep.
People are more innovative, and as your company grows and evolves, it's a great way to showcase.
Oh, it is, absolutely. I mean, that's been a big push for me, with ATC Services, is everything they've done has been organic, right? It's been referrals, it's been outreach from the sales team, the ownership, and they have grown substantially over the last couple of years, but they haven't capitalized on the marketing side yet, right? And that's kind of where I came in. And just in the last month, I mean, we've leaps and bounds, signing on new customers, new MSAs. It's using all the assets and resources that you have at your disposal in order to get where you need to be.
And I love the graphic design that you do. It really stands out. The quality is fantastic, and it always pops.
Yeah.
And so I love sharing it to my page, but it's something that it's you can tell that you have a skill for it and that you're thoughtful about it. Whereas we can post quantity, and all right, you're going to be on the feed. But when you really take the time to create something, to create high quality content, that sets you apart just a little bit more.
No, it does. And it's knowing your marketplace, right? So LinkedIn is not TikTok. TikTok is not Facebook. Facebook is not Instagram, right? Every platform has got a certain algorithm that it looks at. It's got a certain content and a certain market that's looking at that specific platform. And it's knowing what to put in front of that market, so, or that audience, I should say.
No, that is exactly right, and that's why I'm on LinkedIn and TikTok.
Yeah.
That's why I'm not on anything else with the field workers and office and corporate and remote. The relationships that we've been able to connect on LinkedIn. There's overlap with TikTok, but TikTok is a lot of footage from the field.
Yeah.
You see a lot of field guys on TikTok, and there's a lot of services. There's a lot of products. It's a great platform to sell on. Is you can actually get your shop, and it's useful. Again, it's efficient. So the guys that are on TikTok and they're selling their welding products or different within their niches.
Yeah.
You can see where the target market is, and it's just making it easier. It's easier to get higher quality, to find things that you like, and kind of just align yourself with brands that you believe in, that have similar core values, that are obviously useful to whatever part of the industry that you're in, because our industry is vast. So you have to find where your people are,
Yep.
where there's community, where there's services, where there's those alliances to be made. Is it's not going to benefit us if we're not connected correctly.
Absolutely.
And so it's great to have personal relationships and be across the board, but you got to hone in on where your customers are and where the fellow vendors are. So you guys are all working together.
Absolutely. I mean, for us, TikTok's not really a good avenue for us, right? It's yes, your field workers are out there, flipping through their phone all day, but for us, marketing is LinkedIn.
For
right?
sure.
Marketing is the website, which we're working on getting that updated, and I've got some other avenues that we're pushing as well. But it's just, you've got to know kind of where to go and what audience you want to get in front of, like we said.
Yeah, absolutely. I love how efficient LinkedIn is. And when you know your audience, when you know your customer base, you're just dialing right in. And so it's a matter of knowing that, putting yourself out there, and then being consistent.
Yeah.
That I think is what's setting people apart in every aspect. Like you have to be consistent. Quality content, and that you're dedicated. And so that dedication for you, and I would think that with coming into a company, you're valued, you have your own voice, and you've really got your own identity, and then you're able to be more creative and add more value from the experiences that you've had.
No, absolutely. I mean, it's, niche marketing is a big thing. And, being a company like ATC Services, we provide so many services. If it's above ground, we can do it, right? So the marketing that we do can't be broad all the time. If we're pushing hydrovacs, I need to get hydrovacs out. It's honing in on that customer base, and it's figuring out what the marketing needs to be this month to get that portion of our business up. There's a lot that goes into it, really.
No, there really is. It's there's a lot of behind the scenes when it comes to the strategy, but I love it. I love thinking about it. I love looking at what we've got going on as far as, events that are coming up, or, what season it is, where you got to know that.
Yeah.
Because I mean, we work in quarters and seasons and weather conditions out
Yeah.
here, and so it's like really knowing what's going on, knowing the industry enough to know what's going on, quite literally,
Yeah.
and then getting more niche specific. And so the opportunities to be creative in problem solving, to be innovative, to provide exceptional customer service, there we can do very little that's going to provide really great value,
Yep.
because not everybody's willing to do that much work, because it's a lot of energy to do all of that.
It is.
It doesn't seem like it because you're just producing the content, but when you're that thoughtful and that strategic, and then you've had the years of experience and learning
Yep.
the ways that it's not been done correctly, and so then you're wanting to implement things the right way. It's a lot that goes on.
No, it is. Absolutely. I mean, just in the last month, right, you're talking a couple hundred new potential leads, right? And trying to tackle all of them at once. Obviously, we're a growing company. We're growing fast, but we don't have a big sales team at our disposal currently, and having to kind of capture not only the marketing, but the, organic outreach and everything else, it can be a lot, right? And that all just goes into time management and being organized.
Right.
But the tools that we have at our disposal, like LinkedIn, I mean, there's a lot of them out there. It's just a matter of utilizing what you got.
Yeah, absolutely. Would you say that the discipline and the work ethic and time management, did you come into a lot of those skills in the Army?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, absolutely. I mean, it's, my whole life has been pretty structured, 12 years in the Army, and I knew exactly what I needed to do every single day. Coming out of the Army, there was a very confusing time period, because the people I was dealing with were a lot different than the soldiers I dealt with in the Army. They weren't as organized, they weren't as structured, but it was taking what I had learned in the Army and kind of moving that into my civilian life, and then, adapting as I go.
And so you carried those values and the skill sets that were developed. And even though that was a frustrating time, do you feel like that helped bridge your course from being in the military into civilian life, is staying committed to your disciplines and
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I always say your name is everything, right? So it's keeping the morals that you have and you've been brought up with, and using that to kind of drive you in the future. A lot of people, a lot of veterans get out of the military and they struggle a lot because they lose their path and don't understand that, hey, you're still a human. You've got a mission. It's just a different mission.
Yeah, absolutely. So as you made that transition into civilian life and coming into the oil field, the community of veterans out here, is there that same kinship as far as knowing, like, the frustrations are there, the surface relationships that you have, like a lot of people that haven't served in the military just don't understand.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, we get together for coffees once a month over with Permian Partnership, and the constant thing is everybody is struggling with dealing with a civilian life or the corporate lifestyle. So we talk about that at those coffees. We reach out and try and help those guys that are struggling and figure out what they need to do to either change themselves or just understand that not everybody was in the service, right? And that's kind of the biggest challenge. It's just realizing that, not everybody was a soldier and thinks like a soldier.
Right.
So,
well, where you are now, compared to spending the 12 years in the Army, like all the different levels that you went through and learning the oil field, would you say it was easier to adapt to this lifestyle because you'd already served in the military, and the being away from home and life on the road, or just adjusting to the different region?
Yeah, I'd say yes. I mean, I'm married now, live here now, so life's definitely improved a lot, right? But I went through the 14-7 schedules out in the field. It was very similar to the military, So it wasn't as hard for me to adapt being away from family and all that as it would be for somebody, straight out of high school that has been living with mom and dad forever. Yeah, I mean, that's pretty much.
Yeah. So the being away from your family, obviously that's a big part of the military. That's a big part of life in the oil field. And I think that that's something that, I mean, from my experiences of working in the Permian Basin, when you get further out from community and you're, living in a man camp, or like when I was in my RV in Pecos and Carlsbad, there's that disconnect that you get, that you feel, and it can weigh very heavy on you. That even though you might be going home in a few days, or you have leave, or the hitch is coming to an end, there's still that weight that you have to carry of loneliness and the sacrifice that you're making to be out there, to learn the trade, to provide for your family. That it's something that a lot of people can't really get comfortable without seeking out something like some type of companionship. And a lot of the ways that we have outlets here in the oil field aren't necessarily helpful or healthy. And so to be able to stay true to yourself and to take care of yourself, like what would you say would be advice or wisdom that you may give to someone that's younger, or someone that's just struggling, like they're trying to create a better life, but they're really having a hard time being in the thick of it now?
Yeah, I mean, so, obviously the Permian Basin is kind of a desolate area, right? And you can very easily get sucked into just that work mentality where I've got to go to the hitch, go back to the man camp and sleep, and it becomes a very depressing life. Find things that entertain you, find things that you enjoy doing out here, whether it is a veteran outreach program if you're a vet, or it's a hobby. We got into rock hounding, wildlife photography, a lot of other things. Find something that can distract you other than focusing solely on work 24/7. There's organizations out here, nonprofits out here to get involved with. Just get out and do them. It's very easy to just go back to the man camp, get drunk every single night, and fall asleep. What are you doing for yourself? Find something that's enjoyable. Midland's got the Midland Midland Gym and Mineral Society out here. That's something that my wife and I enjoy doing. We get out there and find these rocks. I cut them up, and she makes jewelry out of them. It's just a hobby kind of thing. But there's a lot to do out here, and it's just figuring out what that is for you.
And being able to seek it out and making that choice, because we have a choice what we're going to do every day when we get off work. And there are temptations. They're everywhere. And, I mean, you can be tempted to go out and then end up staying out too late and then just really feeling terrible for a couple of days. And then, but then you start the whole cycle over again, because when you are in that environment, it's hard to get out of. It's a slippery slope.
It is.
And for some that like really dependent on that kind of lifestyle, it can be even more difficult.
Yeah. No, I mean, and I was a heavy drinker for a long time. When I was in the service, I used to drink all the time. When I got out, I still drank. And it wasn't until I think I finally had enough, right? No big event, nothing like that. I woke up one day and said, what are you doing with your life? Take that time, take that effort. Those mornings that I'm laying in bed with a hangover, why not be reading, trying to improve myself? Why not be out here doing something that's going to better my life, And the day I decided to do it and the day I flipped everything over, and don't get me wrong, I'll still have a drink here and there, right? There a couple drinks a month if I'm out with a client or something like that, right? But the day I decided that wasn't what my life needed to be every single day, I just started improving,
Oh, absolutely. And I mean, I think from my own experiences, it's a lot easier to work on yourself when you're not fighting a hangover or you're not going out and staying out late and being tired, because you're not your best self. You're not waking up as your best self, and you're not able to be completely dialed in. And there's that balance too, like you said. Like you can have a couple drinks here and there, and you might get thrown off for a day or two, but you are strong in your convictions and your choices and the quality of life that you want to have. And knowing that you can evolve to whatever degree that you desire, that as long as you're willing to put in the work and learn things and be open-minded, that you're not going to be stuck in a cycle like that.
Yep.
But you do have to make those choices. And, for those that like don't know a lot of what's going on, like I was fascinated when you were telling me about the Gem and Mineral Society. Is that what you
Yes.
called it? And they meet every Monday night.
Yep. Monday night from 6 to 9. We've got a shop here, right here in town. Forgive me, I don't remember the address off the top of my head. But yeah, it's Midland Gem and Mineral Society, and we meet from 6 to 9 on Mondays. They've got classes. It's a family environment, so you can bring your kids. Want to say 8 and above are allowed. But yeah, it's a lot of veterans. We all get together and just learn something new.
Well, and it seems like it's a good outlet too.
It is.
Just like really just de-stressing and looking at the majestic stones that you find and cut open, and then what you can turn them into, and the whole process, and then being able to do that with your spouse. I'm sure that's a great bonding experience and just a very healthy thing to be doing together.
Absolutely. I always make the joke, right? Because we got into wildlife photography and do a lot of traveling doing that. One day she just stopped looking up and started looking down, noticing the rocks. Next thing I know, I'm carrying 300 pounds of rocks off the side of the mountain. So, it's an interesting hobby. I enjoy it. Certain parts of it, I should say. There's a lot that she gets into, that are kind of the more intricacies of it that don't really interest me much.
It's not your area.
Yeah, but
that's her thing.
But it's fun. We enjoy it. It's a couples activity, and we've got quite a few of them. We kind of go all over the place trying to find something new to do. So it's been good.
And the thing about West Texas too is it's really rich with that kind of those experiences.
Yeah.
I mean, you get further out, Fort Davis, Balmaray. I mean, you're going to find some really amazing stones out there. And were you saying, was it Terralingua?
Yeah, so Terralingua and Alpine are two of the biggest ones. We went down there last weekend, went camping for a couple of days, and went out on some tours, and she got to find some different things. So it was good. But that area, I mean, they had a lot of volcanic activity, and obviously it was all underwater at one point, right? So there's a lot of fossils. There's a lot of agates. I mean, it's a pretty interesting area for sure.
It really is. And again, that's another part of West Texas that's so vast.
Yep.
And I mean, even more desolate than the oil field, because we're populating this part. We're working, and there's man camps. But you get further out, Marfa, Big Bend area, and I've only been, I mean, I've been a couple of times, but I went once by myself. I said I would never do it again because it was just, I mean, suddenly you're not seeing road signs anymore. There's no power poles. There's no cell phone service. And I'm like, why do I do stuff like this? What am I doing out here by myself?
See, for me, I enjoy it, right? It's that getting away and clearing your head kind of thing for me. But, yeah, I mean, that area, a lot of parts of it, there's nothing out there.
Absolutely nothing.
We were talking with one of the ranch owners this last weekend. They hadn't had a drop of rain since February 9th. It's hard to make a living out there. It's hard, they had 250 acres or something like that, but 12 cattle on it because they had to get rid of the rest because they couldn't afford hay.
Yeah.
I mean, it's a desolate area. There's a lot to do, but it's a desolate area for sure.
And you really, to live that far out, and even going into Fort Davis to go through the canyon, and, you're looking at these amazing mountains, and then you show up in this town that they are very quirky with the way they keep their hours. And they'll put a note on the door, gone to the bank, be back in a little while, or, they're open on Tuesdays from 10 to 12, and that's it. But it's a totally different way of living too. It's not convenient. They're not in Midland. They're not 5 minutes from HEB. I mean, I love going out there, but it's a getaway, and it's a commitment just to get there.
Yeah, no,
so
it
for
is.
them to even come into Midland for anything, that's a huge trip.
Yeah, I mean, you're talking grocery trips once a month coming in. We stopped at a gas station, asked for a bag of ice, and she's like, "Oh yeah, it actually got delivered yesterday. We've been waiting on it a week." It's crazy how much things really slow down once you get out and about.
Yeah. No, it really is, and it's such an interesting area, and I've been to Marfa, I've been to Alpine, and I mean it's all similar, and every town has their own special niche of what they have, whether it's Balmaray, the lake is incredible.
Golf course in Terralingua, one of the best ones out there.
Yeah, and Marfa with all the different art studios and very, very unique place, very unique people. And then, of course, Alpine, Sol Ross, and
Yep.
people are going to school out there,
Oh, yeah.
and it's a really special campus. But again, you've got to commit to
Yeah.
living there.
Yeah,
You're not going
absolutely.
anywhere else.
No, no, not at all. I mean, it's big geology school, archaeology, geology, all that.
Well, and rightfully so, because you're right there in such a mineral-rich
Yep.
region, and there's so much to that, but it's a very low key. Like you said, the Gem and Mineral Society, a lot of people don't even know that's going on, because people that get into the studying the earth and different formations, things like that, it's also a very introverted lifestyle. And so there's not a lot of noise made about it. It's incredible.
Yeah.
But it's very studious too.
It is. It is. Yeah, I mean, we have a very interesting group of, members with the society, right? You got some very big extroverts, very extremely introverts, right? And it's interesting to see. I mean, when they start talking about something that they love, all of a sudden they start talking a lot. They might not say 3
yeah.
or 4 words, right, to any other subject, but you get in there and they're showing you something they found down in Alpine, and it brings out a different part of them, right? Which
Yeah.
is another reason it's good for veterans, right? So, I mean, we don't relate a lot with most people, Certain subjects just don't interest us, and it's not all vets, right? But some. And you find something that you're passionate about, and you actually want to start talking about it,
Yeah,
Spreading
and I could
knowledge,
see
so.
that, and especially something that, because when we look at mass media, there's so much noise and there's so
Yep.
much negativity, and it's exhausting and never ending. It's just a cycle. It's
Yeah.
just news cycles, and
Yeah.
you can make anything dramatic, from politics to the weather, and it's exhausting and disheartening to engage in all of that. And a lot of social media too. Like, aside from what we're doing is from a business aspect, there's a lot of really low quality social media, news,
Yeah.
because you can put anything out there, and so there's the clickbait, and just a lot of wasted energy. And so when you find something meaningful like the gem and minerals, like, you want to talk about it because it's so real.
Yeah.
And I think that, I'm sure, like, being a veteran and having lived a totally different lifestyle in the service, like, you're well beyond a lot of what civilians are interested in, as far as, like, the entertaining media and very superficial interests. And so when you do something like discovering, different rocks and stones and cutting them open and seeing what's inside and understanding this region, there's a lot more depth to that kind of experience.
Yeah, it's just finding focus in something, it's there's a lot of noise, right? And veterans deal with a lot of noise kind of within their minds, right? And what they're struggling with. And when you find that thing that lets you focus and forget everything that's going around you, it's powerful.
Yeah, I can imagine, because the struggles that you deal with as a veteran, they're very internalized.
Yep.
And that's a battle that civilians won't ever know anything about. They couldn't understand it. And it's not even something you necessarily want to talk about or need to talk about all the time, but to be able to do something healing and pure, and in something that, where, like you said, you can concentrate, I would think that would be refreshing and refueling.
No, it is. I mean, and I'll go back to Permian Warrior Partnership again. They've got a campaign called the Be Known campaign, and it's just trying to get veterans to realize exactly what you just said. You're not alone. You can talk about these things, and by the way, here's a group of veterans that want to talk about it with you. So finding these things that you could open up about kind of leads into other conversations with veterans. There's a lot of help out there. You just don't know it until you're in front of somebody that's got that knowledge.
Right.
So joining these organizations and having these conversations goes a long way.
I'm sure it does. I could see that initially for some it might be hard to put yourself out there.
Yeah.
And because you don't know people, and it's hard to introduce yourself and to create that social relationship when you're already, like, uncertain, or you've never done that before. You've never had to put yourself out there, and so to have that community ready for you, and that's just the starting point. That's where you can figure it out. Finding jobs or resources, different therapeutic outlets, or just being able to have the conversation with people that get it, or people like that go to these events that want to support military veterans. It's being grateful for the service that anyone that's joined the military has sacrificed their time and their lives and their lifestyle and going into these different parts of the world that we'll never see, but being mindful that gratitude is ongoing. It's something that can be really watered down because there's just so much noise in the world that it's hard to value anything because we're constantly fed conflicting messages, and then you're bombarded with the mass media about everything. And so to really be thoughtful and think about how we're living here. It's very similar to the oil field because people don't understand that the oil and gas industry is what is powering and creating a lot of what we enjoy every day. It's taken for granted because people don't see the industrial aspect. It's very similar to the appreciation of the military. We don't see the sacrifices that you made as an individual, that you made in the teams that you were on, the relationships you built, the experiences that you all had together. We're not seeing that side. And so it can be overlooked as far as the value, but there's nothing more valuable to us as Americans than the military that is protecting us and our freedom.
Yep. No, I mean, I actually had this conversation the other day, and it kind of goes into the marketing conversation we just had, but, the everyday civilian out here does not understand, and I say civilian with a light heart, right? But non-soldier does not have the knowledge of what veterans went through, right? And unless we share those stories, nobody will ever know.
Yeah.
And it goes hand in hand with the oil field, right? If everybody gives the oil field a bad name, right? You hear it day in and day out talking about problems we cause with water and everything else, right? And unless these companies are showing the good that we're doing in the Permian, the bad message is all that gets out.
Absolutely.
So going back to LinkedIn, keeping those messages from your businesses, showing what you're doing, not just putting ads up, but showing what you're doing in the community, showing what you're doing in all these organizations and, conversations you're having and new innovations that you're coming out with, right? All that has to be spread. Otherwise, we're never going to change the view.
Yeah, I completely agree. And I think that, bad news gets more publicity.
Yeah, it does.
Drama does. But we can retrain our brains to, as a society, because not everybody's devouring this negative content. Like there are certain social media platforms that I would not be on because it's very wasted energy. Like even though there may be a few good things on there, you get sucked in. And then you see things that are just so negative and people arguing and fighting and, the trolls and the bots and all of this. It's like, why are these platforms even allowing this to go on? And so then that's your influence. And so when I see all of these companies and organizations here in the Permian, I'm so proud of what we do. And I'm so proud of all the businesses that I've been able to work with, the brands I'm currently representing. I'm proud of when I see the post that I get to share that. And there's so much that some days I got to pump the brakes. I'm sharing all kinds of stuff right now, but I'm looking at them
absolutely.
and they won this and they did that and they're killing it. And you guys just added another hydrovac. And so it's exciting, but for me, it's refreshing. There's a lot of sadness and darkness in this world. And so to be able to just really focus on that sunlight, it's not that the darkness is ignored, but it's healing to have that energy out there.
Oh, it is, absolutely. And, LinkedIn does a pretty good job. I say LinkedIn, the community that's on LinkedIn
Right.
does a pretty good job at keeping it more business related, right? you've got some out there that are trolling, throwing their comments on every negative post they see, right? There's no need for it, right? It's LinkedIn should be a positive business platform. We just signed up with Trunkline, right? And Trunkline keeps all of that off of there. It's a growing platform, but it's solely just for making business connections. We'll see where it goes. I'm excited to see where it goes.
That is really exciting. I've heard about that. I've heard great things about it, and I agree with you because you can only set your arrange your settings so far as like you don't want to see politics or whatever on LinkedIn, but there's always going to be people that are abusing the platform or misusing it. And so to be on something where it's just business, it's very tailor made and takes out a lot of that fluff and negativity and useless posting. There's some people that they're just posting just to do it, and there's no value in your content. So you want to make sure your content is valuable too. And I mean, with most of us, we're getting on LinkedIn because we want to do good business. You want to find business, you want to network, and then it's also, again, it's a great place to showcase. So we're inspiring each other, and we're setting the standards higher, I think, on a daily basis. And then doing things like going to the golf tournaments, going to the trade shows and conferences. You're going to get out of it what you put in, but it's also a great way to align with the right people.
That is. Absolutely. Yeah, definitely looking forward to this year and next, right?
Yeah.
Trying to grow ATC services. I mean, the conventions, the golf tournaments, some of them do better than others, but it's nice to get out there. It's nice to finally show the Permian what we've got, and how we're growing.
Yeah,
So.
I agree. And I think that when you get in the right position, and it seems like where you are now, you can really open that up because you're working with the right team, truly values their employees, values their customers, values your viewpoints. And so then you don't have all of that you're fighting against. So then you can really suss out what's right for you guys and what isn't. And being able to do more in the community, more in the veteran community, getting more involved, and just being excited about putting the brand out there.
Yeah, no, it's been huge for me and the company, right? But it's having a business that actually supports your vision. It goes a long way. That was one of the conversations I had when I was talking about the job in the first place was, hey, I am a very big veteran organization supporter. I push Permian Warrior Partnership in every chance I can get, and I don't want to change that. And literally the ownership of the business looked at me and said, why would we want to change it? We want to support it. So what can we do? It's stuff like that. Just it builds a stronger team. It's what a business in my eyes should be.
Yeah.
It's yes, we're all trying to make better revenue, right? But if you can support the community, you can get out there and do things. We did the trash pickup a couple weeks ago. Getting out there and actually doing stuff like that goes a long way. And it's not about the marketing. Sure, we share when we do it, but it's actually bettering the community, and that's what we're trying to do.
Yeah. Well, and I think that, the more we see things like that happening, and it's exciting to me, it's motivating for me because I've been very disheartened by people I've worked with in the past that don't care. They don't care about their employees to the point where they're not wanting to provide water on location, the basics, good quality gloves. And so if you have only been exposed to companies like that, you can believe that that's all there is. And so I think that when you find a good quality company, you appreciate them even more after you've been exposed to, how other businesses operate. But I think it's really raising the bar too, because you can't get on LinkedIn and be acting like that. Like people that post on LinkedIn, for the most part, I would say they're shining a light on the good things they're doing, like employee appreciation lunches and recognizing employees for, achieving different. I believe I saw something for neighbors the other day. They won the safest drilling rig, or there was some really great accolade for them out here in the Permian. I'm like, that's awesome, and that's not just a whim of an achievement. This is showing up daily and being committed to your people, to being safe, to getting home safely to your families, to respecting your PPE and what we're supposed to wear. I mean,
Yep.
there's a lot to it these days. I mean, back
There
when I
is.
first started, I mean, shoot, there were no FRs, there was no little gas monitor or whatever. I'm really coming on with it, but I mean, and it's sometimes it's a pain, especially when you come from an old school, like that, and it's like now you got to tuck your shirt in and do the
Yep.
whole 9 yards. But it's part of the company standard. I mean, some of it is really valuable and needed. Some of it's a little bit of red tape. We got to take the good with the bad. This
Yep.
is where we are. One thing I love about oil and gas is it's always evolving. So whether it's looking for more ways to be innovative and efficient, working with other energy sectors, or just allowing people to come out here with an idea and start from the bottom, start from scratch, and you can build whatever you want.
Oh yeah.
And I mean, so it's truly it's a paradise of business opportunity. That if you have that grit and an understanding and a respect for oil and gas, and you find your niche and you find your people and you get an idea, like there is no limit to what you can do, what you can achieve.
Right, absolutely. I mean, just in my short time that I've been with ATC Services, right, we're innovating, coming up with new services. I had a conversation with a client last week, and next thing I know, we're providing another service to him that we weren't providing before. It's you have to always be on your toes. You have to always think ahead and think outside the box. And if you get kind of stuck in one corner doing the same thing over and over, somebody else is going to pass you up.
Oh, very much so. And you can get stuck and your hands are tied because you can see all the great ways of doing it. But if you've got people in the wrong positions above you or a company that's not aligned with wanting to have that evolution, and like you're still stuck in the old way of doing things, and you're going to spin your wheels. You're going to fall into that cycle. And it's very discouraging. And then you add in the being away from home and the long hours, and people don't appreciate oil and gas, and so it's just, you go home with that, like you have all that locked inside of you, and you're not able to express it or share it or utilize it in any way. So then when you get that chance, it's really powerful.
No, it is absolutely. I mean, it's we've talked about it quite a bit. I'm mind blown at how different things are with ATC and what we've done. Right, it's different than any other business I've worked with. Having the freedom to do what I want to do because I know it's going to better the business. And it's been an experience. It's been good.
That's so exciting. I'm happy for you, Daniel, and I mean you deserve it. And I love the leadership that you have, especially in the veteran community. I mean, you're just a very solid source of support. And I know that, I mean, I've seen you out more than once, and it's a comforting feeling to know that someone's in your corner, and the support that you've shown me on LinkedIn, and what we've been able to do together with ATC. I'm so excited for you guys. I'm proud to represent, and really loved having you on the show today.
No, I appreciate it. Thanks for having me.
You
It's been
bet.
great.
Thanks again.